Welcome to the virtual lunch. Today is Friday, August 19th, and this is virtual lunch number 622. Our guest today is Jaclyn Braga, the Director of Marketing at Morse, and this is part of our series on igniting innovation with SurePoint Technologies.
It's always great to see one of our amazing SurePoint community clients on here. So Jackie, great to see you again.
Ed Deaton, I'm the VP of Marketing with SurePoint. I'm live in my basement in Cincinnati, and it's exciting to have you here today. I'm excited about it.
Welcome to the virtual lunch. I am a content marketing manager with SurePoint.
I am a content marketing manager at SurePoint as well. I was with Contactees for about 6 years, and I'm a law firm marketer of over 12 years.
I am Scott. I'm a business development rep at SurePoint Technologies.
Jackie, tell us about your background and your role at Morse.
So prior to joining Morse, my background was in real estate marketing. So I did real estate marketing for 5 years. And then I don't think that either side, lawyers or realtors, really like hearing this, but I actually found there was some natural synergy there. Staying within the service provider marketing area, they're both responsible for their own books of work. They sort of take to tech at different rates. You've got to do a lot of training with them. So that was sort of an easy transition for me, I thought. Morse has been the only law firm I've worked for. I started there in 2008. I was their first full-time marketing hire. For those who don't know or aren't familiar with Morse, we're about a 40-plus attorney firm. We're just outside of Boston. We focus on corporate, IP, litigation, employment, privacy, tax. Try to get them all in there. And over the years, I have grown my team to 3, including myself. I oversee all of the marketing and BD initiatives at the firm, including our strategic marketing planning, our budgeting, our attorney development, our web presence, our content, event planning, social. So it's sort of the role is all encompassing. I really like sort of wearing of many hats, as you might say. Quickly, social media wasn't really as much of a thing then, right? And we weren't even really doing virtual events at that point. Everything was in person. The change was led by the technology, of course. So definitely all the technology that's come along has certainly made my life easier and better and allowed me to serve the attorneys better, right? We have a sort of a funny concept here right now, in that our managing partner, when rolling out our work from home / hybrid policy, she said, it's a work from somewhere. Just do your work. And she left it to the directors to decide sort of what works for your team. In my opinion, my team needs to get to know their clients pretty closely, and that's the attorneys. So we're doing 2 days in, 3 days virtual right now. I think there's going to be occasions, especially with the fall, when we start integrating more in-person events with the virtual ones. We'll probably see my team in the office a little more often as well. And we're certainly trying to incentivize people to come to the office, but I think folks really enjoy there. I try to get my team topics to speak on during the firm meetings, make sure they're engaged in my practice meetings. And this will be the same thing, I think, for the lawyers, right? So anyone that we have onboarded, like partners during the pandemic, it's been really, an effort to make sure that they come to each practice meeting, that they talk about what their practice does to the other attorneys, sort of really integrating in that way and helping them to do so. We added an ERISA practice, and by I say ERISA practice, I mean one attorney, during the pandemic, and really just getting her in front of everybody else at the firm to make sure they know what her practice is and how to use her services, right? So it's all the extra exposure that we can really get for folks. 3 or 4 years, so prior to the pandemic, we started creating a marketing annual report that literally just goes over everything we did this year. And we design it all in-house, and it literally just touches on like everything we worked on. And then we strategically roll it out right before the review season. It is well received. Yeah, during the pandemic. They do. Yeah, we make a virtual version. We make a redacted virtual version in case they want to use it for like lateral recruiting and such, to kind of give them an idea of what our team does. And during the pandemic, we sent it to everyone's house. So that was, with a note. You get the annual report. It has a letter from me on the inside. I put another letter on the front. I signed it. I literally exist, folks. Please don't forget us. But it's also helpful they definitely do use it for recruiting purposes in some occasions when they're getting close with a lateral and they want to show them what our department does. Also with our first years and second years who don't really know what to ask us for help. So it kind of shows how people are using the marketing department. And then this year, since we were really trying to get people back in the office, we did the obvious thing and invited them into the marketing department and provided food. So we handed them out one at a time as people came in and chatted. And that way we had the opportunity to be like, hey, we talked, check out this page. We talked about that project we worked on with you, and start the conversation in person, which is also helpful for just like the meet and greet with everybody who's joined in the past couple of years. Now they're like, oh, look, everybody else at the firm saw that I worked on that project. So we have a whole portion of it that talks about reporting your transactional data. And it's like this many deals were reported to us. So the whole BD section, which by the way, we track our transactional data in contactees. So those are all sort of like, areas, but we get to then show them like why, okay, so we have these tools, this is what they cost, but look at what we can do with that data, And then I think when you feature folks within there, they like seeing that, they like that other folks see that they spoke 6 times this year, that they participated in sponsorships. We also implemented a marketing incentive program a few years back in 2017, which is more than a few years now, where we basically use gamification to allow everybody in the firm to participate in this incentive program. Professional staff gets one set of marketing and BD goals. The attorneys get a second like sort of bingo card of goals. They get points for what they complete, and then they can redeem them for swag and donations and things like that. So the same sort of thing happens, right? So I send a 5 for Friday email this morning, and my 5th item is leaderboards, the top 10 lawyers, top 10 professional staff, and points. And yeah, they get frustrated if they're not in the top 10. Like,
oh, that's great.
Hey, Jackie, did you remember that I went on that pitch? Like, did I get points for that? And obviously our goal was partially it's in the collecting of data from that, but they get concerned when they're not in the top 10. Sort of one thing that stands out to me is that the person that came in, this female attorney, she probably would have had an easier time actually getting in front of, the rest of the internal attorneys, because she probably, everybody really would have been there far more often. Recently, she said, I'd really like to get in front of this specific corporate lawyer, but like, he's never here. Like, I don't know. I sent him an email. I'm not sure how to get in front of him. And it's like, after these couple of years, my automatic response, and also just because I know this corporate attorney, was like, have you thought about maybe just getting breakfast with him? And like, that's where he lives, which would never have been a thing, right? Before the pandemic, you wouldn't have said like, can you go meet them at their, like down the street from their house? But it has been sort of you need to be a little creative if you really think that getting in front of his clients would be worthwhile. Anybody that was in any of the leadership roles, at least at my firm, there is a pressure for the employee engagement. Everybody's moving around, everyone's hiring. I think that all of the department heads are sort of taking on pieces of all of that. I've certainly seen right now we're working on a recruiting video campaign that will roll in the fall. And my team was heavy working on that. That was like a big part of our summer, which maybe recruiting to that level wouldn't have been on our plates in the past, but it's absolutely part of it now. It's absolutely part of our social calendar, integrating that in there, absolutely trying to make people think about and see our law firm culture via social media, things like that are on our plate. We are, like every law firm, probably really trying to step up and actually make strides in our DEI efforts. So that obviously comes over to marketing as well. I would use the database to search for transactions, let's say transactions that happened in the last 3 years where the company industry is life sciences and we have approval to use their name. Ta-da, that will come up in my search. And now I've got 5 or 10 life sciences companies that I can say we've worked with. We also put some case studies on our website. So if you, of course, get permission to post a case study, or the ones that you have scrolling on your website, just keeping them somewhere, or maybe noting the ones that are on your website somewhere in your CRM so that you can easily bring that list up without having to go to your site for it might work. So I think, maybe one of those kinds of solutions where you can do sort of a multi-variable search, but it's just really trying to find, I think, something where you can sort by all those variables. So, just going remote during the pandemic to moving things to the cloud and getting folks to use everything has been a challenge and a change. And just yesterday, we had set up like 3 in-person trainings to go to that dual factor authentication. Everybody was in person with their phone and their laptop, and what does the App Store icon look like? How do I get the app? And we all really kind of had to get on board with it and start sort of owning our own technology. I really think my answer for this is just to think about things, but like being creative thinkers about it and being flexible as it comes at you, because I think there's going to be things that are going to fall off our plate just because it doesn't make sense anymore. It's not the way we, maybe we always did it this way, but now it's just not a good use of our time. Whereas now there are changes that we need to embrace. And sort of a simple one that I immediately think of is the fact that we always did so many in-person events, which I think still hold a lot of value, but that always meant for us a very limited audience, right? But now there's like this, an epiphany here. We can have our virtual event, and there are cast a wider net for prospecting.
Jackie Braga, everybody. Wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for participating in the virtual lunch. Thanks so much to our friends at SurePoint, of course, for supporting our series on igniting innovation. And I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. This is a wonderful discussion.